Alright, so it's been kind of a while since I've done a video where I just sort of talk about something, and I really wanted to tell you guys my thoughts on the character of Spider-Man. And now, Spider-Man's been one of the most iconic superheroes that's ever existed. His films pretty much started the whole rejuvenation of the comic book movie genre. His comic books have been some of the most renowned Marvel comics that have been coming out for the past 50 years. And for a long time, he was basically like the star of Marvel. When you thought about Marvel Comics, you thought about Spider-Man. And in recent years, there have been certain things that I really don't like that have been done with the character, and the character himself actually has a couple of problems that really get on my nerves. And I sort of realized this after listening to Linkara's review of Spider-Man One More Day, and where he basically said that the character never takes responsibility for his actions, and if he really did, he would have stopped being Spider-Man a long time ago. My bigger problem with Spider-Man as a character is how he's written a lot of the times. Spider-Man's whole motto is, with great power comes great responsibility. Now, sure, it's cliche at this point and it's overused as all hell, but it's still a valid message. Here's the problem. Taking responsibility for everything, even the things that are beyond your control, is not good. And this is something that really annoys me about the way Spider-Man is written. Particularly in Dan Slott's run. I even have a good example of that. Basically, Spider-Man, everything is Spider-Man's responsibility, and if anyone anywhere dies, it's immediately his fault, and he has to beat himself up over it, and he has to feel guilty over it. And I just think that's just really bad writing, and that's not really fair, because you cannot control everything everywhere. Just because responsibility and taking responsibility for your actions is your motto doesn't make everybody and everything in the world your responsibility. And a perfect example of this is at the Ends of the Earth storyline by Dan Slott. Spider-Man's tech that he used for Star Labs, which wasn't weaponized tech, it was tech used to, help better the lives of people. Doc Ock stole it, and then he used it to create this machine to, kill lots and lots of people, and then Spider-Man beats himself up over it. And I just couldn't help and ask myself, why are you beating yourself up over it? How could you know that tech could be used to create a machine of mass destruction? And why should you even beat yourself up over it? If Spider-Man made the machine of mass destruction and then it was stolen, then I would it would make sense. I would agree with them. You made this machine that kills lots of people, and it's been stolen, and now all these deaths are your fault, just as they are Doc Ock's. But no, in the storyline, he makes certain components that are used by Doc Ock to create this machine of mass destruction, and he beats himself up over it like he built the machine, and it's his fault that all those people died. And this is something I really hate about how the way people write Spider-Man. They constantly write it like everything is his responsibility, and the second anything goes wrong anywhere in the world, it's his fault, and he has to take shit from everybody over it, and he has to beat himself up because of it as well. And this really, really gets on my fucking nerves, because it's just poor writing, and it's just a poor excuse to make some legitimate drama. And it's just something that really annoys the hell out of me, especially with Dan Slott. Dan Slott's whole run is full of examples of things out of Peter Parker's control that he supposedly has to take responsibility for, and he beats himself up over it. Another example is the Alpha storyline, also by Dan Slott, of course. Basically, Reed Richards discovered these particles that give a person superpowers, and these powers grow as the universe expands. And then Peter rediscovers them, and then when this kid is hit by a ray of these particles, he basically becomes a superhero. And then Reed Richards is like, oh, this kid is your responsibility, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, no, asshole. You knew about these things. You knew Peter was experimenting with them. You didn't tell him that they could be dangerous. He is your fucking responsibility, you stupid asshole. You, Reed Richards, are an asshole. and it's his responsibility. Like, why the fuck is Alpha Peter Parker's responsibility when this guy, Reed Richards, knew Peter Parker was experimenting with this crap? He didn't warn him at all, and now he's there giving Peter Parker crap about how Alpha is his responsibility. No, he is your responsibility, Reed Richards. You discovered this crap. You didn't warn Peter about it, and that ended up giving this irresponsible little bastard superpowers that make him more powerful than the Phoenix. He is your responsibility, you asshole. And another thing that really annoys me about the character of Spider-Man is that he never really takes any responsibility for his actions. You know, whenever something bad happens in his life, he always just mopes about it, and he always thinks about, oh my god, you know, my girlfriend's dead. Like, oh my god, why is my life so terrible? Like, and he never thinks about anybody else. Like, when something bad happens in their lives, he never, ever, ever thinks about anyone else. He is an unbelievable selfish prick. Like, he only ever thinks about himself. He never once considers that his actions might hurt other people. He never takes other people's, feelings into account when he does anything. It's always him. He is an unbelievable selfish prick. And really, he never takes responsibility for his actions. Like, another perfect example is the iconic Death of Gwen Stacy storyline, where the Green Goblin knocks Gwen Stacy off of the bridge. And then Spider-Man catches her with the web, and then he snaps her neck as he pulls her up. And then he's like, "This is your fault, Green Goblin!" And then he, ends up killing Green Goblin at the end of the storyline. Well, Goblin technically kills himself, but Spider-Man kind of sets the whole thing up, and then he just blames Green Goblin for the death of Gwen Stacy. And I'm just like, you made the mistake, you asshole. I mean, sure, Green Goblin put her in that situation, but if you were smarter and instead of acted like an idiot, you could have saved her, and you ended up killing her. Like, if you, made a web under her or threw yourself at her instead of catching her by the leg and snapping her neck as you pulled her up, you wouldn't have killed her. And then all of a sudden it's Green Goblin's fault that she's dead. Are you serious? And it's just these are these big problems I have with the character of Spider-Man, and it's one of the things I actually like about Superior Spider-Man. Yes, I'm going to go out on a limb and say there are some things I like about Superior Spider-Man, and those are, he knows that he cannot control everything, and he knows that people are going to get hurt, people are going to die, and that's just the way this work is. Like, he cannot hold himself responsible for every single person because he cannot save everybody. And second, he doesn't take shit from anybody. He is not like a wimp like Peter Parker. He takes decisive action, and he doesn't let anybody walk all over him like he's a joke. He stands up for himself. He stands by what he does, even though what he does might not be good sometimes, but he sticks by his choices, and he knows that not everything is his fault and his responsibility. And those are the things I like about Superior Spider-Man. He takes decisive action, doesn't take shit from anybody, and he knows to not beat himself up over every ant in New York dying. Like, I'm surprised Spider-Man doesn't throw a hissy fit every time someone squashes a fucking ant. Like, oh my god, that ant in Central Park died. I'm a terrible person. Like, I failed you, Uncle Ben. Like, I'm really surprised they haven't gone that route yet. And those are just my problems with this whole character. Like, he has some good stories, but the character is just fundamentally broken. Like, I just don't see a character who's all about taking responsibility stay as Spider-Man, because realistically, his life as Spider-Man has brought him nothing but pain and misery, and anyone with any sort of fucking common sense would quit being Spider-Man, especially in the world like Marvel, where everybody is in New York and everybody is a superhero. Like, really, if Spider-Man quit, you have like a bazillion other superheroes to pick up your slack, so there's even less reason for him to stick being Spider-Man after all the crap he's went through in his life. So yeah, that was my rant on Spider-Man. I'm sorry I'm gonna probably alienate one of my loyalist followers and subscribers, but I just had to do this video. I'm just really sick of the way this character's written. He seriously needs to be rebooted. And yeah, I'm just going off on a tangent like I do at the end of every video. So yeah, I hope this video was at least kind of enjoyable, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.